Okay, so I'm going to go through the ID table relatively quickly because I'm actually so excited about our two speakers for tonight, and I don't want to take any time away from them, but I'll just try to show you a little bit of what's coming up. This first picture is a photo by one of our members, Jeff Clark, who's Jeff DC on INAT, who does fabulous photography. And this is Puccinia mariae wilsoniae, probably saying that wrong, but it grows on the beautiful spring ephemeral called Virginia Spring Beauty, which is Claytonia virginica. I was curious about the name mariae wilsoniae. So I looked into it a little bit, and she was a pen pal of Peck, actually, who you probably know. Peck described a ton of species. I think it was like Charles Horton Peck, whatever. And so Mary Wilson, I think she was more of a botanist, but actually it seemed like, then I was reading some of their letters, it seemed like she loved mushrooms. But she also had a DC connection, which was that she spent her winters at the Congressional Hotel in DC. And I really liked this quote: "I do not live in North Carolina. We, my mother and I, are nomads. We camp here and there, and we are tempted by the climate and other special inducements." So I was excited about that. She looked like an interesting person. I'll have to dig deeper. The first photo I'm sharing is from Elizabeth Axley. And this is a very common spring mushroom that if you haven't seen in the last couple of weeks, you surely will be seeing coming up. Here's what the underside looks like, and great job to Elizabeth for showing it so clearly. As you can see, the gills are not attached to the stipe. They're free. Does anyone want to write in the chat what they think this might be? They're very, I'll just put it this way. There's no ring on this mushroom, or partial veil, or annulus, whatever you want to call it. So in terms of mushrooms that have unattached or free gills and no veil or ring or annulus, there are very few. So let's see. Yeah, Pluteus, woohoo! It's a plute. Or Pluteus, I don't know. So you might look at that and want to call it Pluteus cervinus or cervinus, the deer mushroom. I wanted to show that there isn't one deer mushroom. There are a lot of deer mushrooms. I was like looking up, trying to find an image for a deer party to show that it was like a party with a group of deer mushrooms. And then I found this game, which I actually would really like to buy. It's a real game. Got to look into that. Deer pong. So this is from a great paper by our speaker from February. If you remember, Alfredo Justo, who told us about hedgehogs and his work. He also is a big expert in Pluteus, and in 2014, he wrote this excellent paper that really looks at global Pluteus, and just this is the Pluteus cervinus clade or group. Clade's just a fancy word for group. And these means these mushrooms are closely related. This is a DNA phylogeny. So the ones that we have in Eastern North America that we know of are Pluteus cervinus, which is, the one that you've all probably seen in your guidebooks, but also Pluteus hungoi, and Pluteus elephinus. I will say the second one, Pluteus hungoi, we actually have sequenced one from, I think it was from Jug Bay. So the DNA committee did find one of those and confirm it with DNA sequencing, but probably there are probably a lot of other ones too. And I'm not going to go through the key because I don't have a lot of time, but you do need to get to species here. If you're not sequencing, you might still need to sequence, and also you might need microscopy. So it's fine to say Pluteus cervinus group. And if you want the citation, I can give it to you later. We've been seeing a lot of these and other spring species that just keeps coming up, which, spoiler alert, is also a species group. So does anyone want I'll tell you, hint, they're a kind of ink cap. Does anyone want to put in the chat what they think it could be? Yeah, exactly. So Coprinellus micaceus That's one of the species in this group. And so you can just call it Copernellus section Micaceae. And we have definitely more than one. Oops, sorry, did I go out of my slideshow? I didn't mean to do that. We definitely have more than one species. But anyway, there's a great paper that came out in 2020. This is like the ink cap paper. Like if you want to go down a deep rabbit hole of inkies, you must read this paper. And also it is annoyingly, there's a paywall, but I have it, have the paper. So if you want to email me, I'll send it to you. Yeah, don't let anyone hold you down when you're trying to learn about ink caps. This is just to show you, I love these keys to genera. So this is like to tell you essentially why is this Copernellus as opposed to any other kind of ink cap. And I love to look at a key backwards. So I know that I had a Copernellus. I don't know why I know that. My brain just like is like, I know that's that. But then it's good to go backwards and figure out why. So it's true the pileus or the cap is plicate or furrowed. So yeah, it had those grooves in it. You can see they all have grooves. It doesn't have greenish tones. Well, can't say the shape of the spores or the Pileocystidia because we're not looking at it microscopically, but we can say veil. When they say veil, always present, but sometimes fugacious. I feel like that's probably like a tempest fugate relationship, like flying away. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but I bet it means not always sticking around. So yeah, there are a lot of times little pieces of veil that almost look like a little bit of like crystals, like little salt granules or something, sugar granules. But then you might see it after a rain and they won't be there. So anyway, we have a number of species in that group. So that's why people will correct you on INAT, which I hate correcting people on INAT, but because it makes me feel sad and annoying to do that. But on the other hand, like it is good to know the diversity of the species. So it's that luckily there is a thing where you can just choose the section, Copernellus section Micaceae, and then you don't have to feel bad. And I think based on, these are my spore picks. The one on the right, I'm not sure, it looks to me like it could be something similar to Micaceus. And that mushroom, it did have Colocystidia, which is like little kind of hair thingies on the stipe, or cystidia on the stipe. The one on the left is, I think, possibly Copernellus truncorum, but I'm not, again, like you would need DNA to be sure of this. Okay, I just want to look at the time on my phone. Oh no, yeah, we don't really have more time. So I'm going to skip the Sarcosypha, but I'll just show you the pictures really quickly. But we do probably have, probably most of what you're seeing right now would be Austriaca. We might also have Dudleyi, but it seems to be rare. Like in Indiana, they don't have it at all yet, or they haven't found it at all yet. Occidentalis, just to tell you, is, see how this Austriaca doesn't have a long stipe? It's not really stipitate, just has like kind of a stump. The Occidentalis does have a little stipe. This is, and it's more of a summer species. That's good to know. So the spring species probably is like Austriaca, Dudleyi. Occidentalis probably more of a summer species. Smaller, has a long stipe. Micro is helpful for differentiating Austriaca and Dudleyi, and I'm not going to say anything else about it. Please join us for the City Nature Challenge. I'm going to definitely do forays, and I'm sure Mitch will too. And we can do some INAT primers for anyone who needs to learn how to use it. But we want to win, so let's win.